The M8 motorway is the main motorway in Scotland that links its two largest cities, Edinburgh and Glasgow. In the 1990s, the Scottish Arts Council decided that the M8 was a bit boring and needed sprucing up a bit, and what better way to distract drivers than with a series of massive art installations. But who are the Scottish Arts Council? They set up shop in 1994 with the aim of developing, promoting and funding the arts in Scotland. Basically, a bunch of people were given a load of government funding and lottery grants to spend on art and other pointless things. Throughout the course of the mid to late 90s, the Scottish Arts Council were busy overseeing the planning and installation of several interesting sculptures or art pieces with the aim of making the M8 motorway a better place. It gave us things like the Sawtooth Ramps, better known as the Pyramids. It's a set of 7 pyramids that run for about 300 metres alongside the M8 motorway, and it's also given us things like the heavy horse sculpture which you'll find at Junction 9. There were others too, but perhaps the most recognisable one came in 1997. It's called the Horn, and it sits next to the M8 motorway between junctions 4A and 5 in the Polkemmet Country Park. Until the 1960s, the country park was an estate owned by the Bailey family, who purchased the land in the 17th century. At the time, they built themselves a lovely country house on the estate, but later in the 1850s it was modified and extended significantly, turning the house into a mansion with 39 rooms. The site was sold to the National Coal Board in the 1960s, who unsurprisingly were not interested in the origins of their newly purchased 17th century mansion and set about demolishing it so they could dig out the coal that was lying underneath. Having done that, they neglected the site, with the local council taking over to fix it in 1978. They set about restoring the site to its former glory, turning it into the Polkemmet Country Park, which covers an area of 169 hectares, which in acres is 420. They also added the Scottish Owl Centre, for some reason. Fast forward to the 90s, and with the council owning the land and the council's subdivision, the Arts Council, looking to install some art, the country park was chosen as the perfect place for such an installation. It would attract visitors to the park and also be visible from the M8 motorway. Which leads us back to the horn. It's 24 metres high and made of stainless steel, and it's gained the nickname of the Teletubby horn, for good reason, I think. It's certainly interesting to look at, but it was actually designed with a function. The horn worked as a speaker. Inside were 2 amplifiers connected to an automatic play device. This would periodically play or broadcast music, poetry or inspirational quotes, but sadly not the latest traffic news, which is probably what you want when you're driving on the M8. The horn was supposed to have a lifespan of 25 years, the idea being that they would update the audio messages or music over time. However, and it's not exactly clear when, the horn was deactivated following noise complaints from local residents. I imagine it was fun at first, but of course the novelty probably wore off after the first half hour. The thing is, the idea behind the horn is that it was supposed to communicate with drivers on the motorway. But let's just think about that for a moment. If you're driving along in a car at 70 miles an hour listening to your Will Smith CD, how loud would the horn have needed to have been in order for you to hear it? Pretty f***ing loud, I'd say, so no wonder it got shut down. Not that the original artists would care, of course. By this point they've long since been paid. The total cost to install the structure came in at £166,000, more than 3 times the original estimate. The reason for the price hike was put down to not thinking about how the wind might affect such a tall structure, and at the last minute alterations had to be made and cables were added to keep the horn safe, stable and upright. Fair enough, these alterations clearly worked because it's still standing in 2023, although it hasn't made a sound for a considerable amount of time, which is good because the broadcast would have drowned out the sound of the M8 motorway. Thanks for watching.
Modern science speaks to us of an extraordinary range of interrelations. Ecologists know that a tree burning in the Amazon rainforest alters in some way the air breathed by the citizens of Paris.